and then it'll be the Chiefs after that, and that will close out the first round.
Oh, everybody's saying the Eagles are taking Nolan Smith.
Okay.
All right, so that's Gunner's hearing.
Boom.
Oh, my God.
Gunner's hearing Nolan Smith, who is the edge rusher out of Georgia, and he's a guy who's, size-wise, there are comps there with Hassan Reddick. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but incredibly productive and measurable in terms of like speed and quickness and all the other stuff is off the charts with this guy. A crazy athlete.
Your
NASCAR package is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
BG,
Oh,
Jalen Carter, or Fletch, and Nolan Smith on one side and Hassan Reddick on the other side.
Yeah.
And you got a 14-point lead.
The NFC East just surrendered. Every quarterback just said, we're good on the season.
We're seeing a lot of happiness and clapping in the Eagles' war room. Howie, obviously, up front there. Jeffrey Lurie.
Why is everybody wearing the same color suit?
I don't know. Hey, if it ain't broke, Seth, don't fix it.
This team is becoming Georgia East.
Hey, that's all right. That's okay. So you would potentially have Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Nolan Smith.
Yep.
From the best defense in the past
2
3
years.
years that we've seen in college football in a long time.
Sean Desai's on the phone with Georgia already. So what is it exactly you guys like to do?
Oh,
because we're going to do that up here.
I mean, Kirk Smart should get a little kickback, shouldn't he?
I agree.
Finders fees?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. So we don't know right now. We know the Eagles took Jalen Carter. If you we're tied up all night or whatever the case may be, they end up taking him at number 9 overall. They traded up one spot with Detroit to take Jalen Carter, who was in a lot of people's estimation in terms of talent. I'm not talking about off the field stuff, but in terms of talent was ranked as the number 1 guy, even ahead of the quarterbacks in a lot of cases. So he was taken at number 9. Nolan Smith was projected in some cases, guys, as what, a top 10, top 12, somewhere in that neighborhood. To still be sitting here at 31 is pretty remarkable. But that's where we are right now. We're a couple minutes away from the Eagles drafting at their spot, unless there's some kind of move made. It didn't look to me, when I see a war room clapping, you're not usually clapping if you traded out of that pick into the second round. That's what I will tell you. There was a war room happiness that was there. Gunner's hearing Nolan Smith, and Gunner is usually right on with these things. I will tell you that much. And then it'll be the Chiefs.
I'm going to buy you a burger tomorrow for that.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
But it has to have cheese on it. I can't sit next to anybody who eats a burger with no cheese on it.
I'm not as bad as Will Levis. Will you say that?
I don't know. It might as well be. A burger without cheese is sacrilegious.
I hear you. So it looks like we are. He's taking his good old fashioned. Shouldn't Roger Goodell at this point be jogging to the podium?
Yes.
Like at this point in the
just
draft.
to get this over with. Just stay there and give him an earpiece, just to call it in.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
You know what's weird? We're at this stage of I'm just as intrigued about what Andy Reid is going to do with the last pick in the first draft.
Yeah.
Because of the way they draft in Kansas City. I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, we have some.
What is he?
Is this Mrs. Kelsey?
Engine?
Oh, is it? Yeah, it might.
Mrs. Kelsey's there.
Does she have 3 other sons that we don't know about?
She has more notoriety than anybody I know in the last 2 months.
I don't know what. Yeah, there's some folks out there, so we haven't heard about the Eagles selection yet. I don't know who anybody is. So it's Donna Kelsey and Dude Perfect.
Who?
What is Dude Perfect?
Dude Perfect's the people that they throw a football through a basketball hoop from like a mile away.
What?
Yeah, it's one of those guys.
Okay, what are we doing?
Okay, really? Why are we prolonging
we don't need this right now.
Why are we prolonging this?
I mean, really?
Do they have commercial responsibility? Do they have to get to midnight
to
fulfill commercial obligations?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Really. Why don't we do Dude Perfect earlier?
Hey, look, my knee is throbbing. My butt is numb. I need to stand up for a few minutes.
TMI, Gunner.
Can we go to commercial break and then come back and announce the Eagles?
This is when you know you're getting to a crazy part of the night when Derek's talking about his butt throbbing. Okay.
Should I say bum as they do in Pittsburgh?
Me bum is throbbing. Yeah.
Covering all the bases.
Yes. All right. So
no stone left unturned.
All right,
Derek
Roger, make the pick. We know the Eagles are excited about it. We know we are fascinated at who's still sitting there. That's for sure. And the pick is now about to be announced by Roger Goodell. Again.
Yeah, Adam Schefter just announced also that it's Nolan Smith.
Okay, so a little bit earlier.
Late to the game, Shefty. Gunner already told us.
That's right. Yep. You got it. It will be Nolan Smith. Mrs. Kelsey's actually making the announcement. So It will be it is official. It is Nolan Smith. It is a Georgia double dip here, guys.
You'll learn to believe in me, Mark. If you don't already, you'll learn to believe in me.
He's got his green socks on. Nolan Smith does. He's showing everybody off his green socks.
A little champagne right there for himself.
Yes. He's got a white suit with a red tie. He's got Georgia tie colors.
He got green socks on?
Yeah, he had green socks on.
Wow.
He's pulled it. He's got the red sneaks with the green socks. It's in it. Yeah, he does have a little champagne.
Would Andy Reid take Michael Mayer?
Yes.
Yes.
Would he? Can you imagine him and Travis Kelce together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Super Bowl again.
Greed is good.
Guys, let's revisit this. I mean, you talk about 6'2", 238, edge pass rusher out of Georgia. We're number 4 at Georgia. But you get Nolan Smith, and he's just blowing guys up in the video that we're watching. You got Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter a year after they got Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis.
Yes.
This is crazy,
Yes.
man. I mean, you talk about going to the well. And I'm okay with it. I like that well.
The Georgia connection is obvious and certainly worth noting. But what I just can't get over is the fact that this defense is going to be incredible.
Yeah, and Mark, it's the thing we worried about the most.
It absolutely is. And when you look at what Sean Desai could be bringing to the table here, I mean, similarly, last year, Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles said, hey, Jonathan Gannon, we're going to give you a lot of pieces to the puzzle here. We're going to give you guys that can be aggressive without you having to dial up plays to necessarily be aggressive. You have now got the pieces to the puzzle that will allow you to do the same type of thing. You're telling me you got the guy you wanted, you most coveted in Jalen Carter, and then you got a guy that was still a top 12 ranked prospect coming into this draft, and you got him at 30, and all it really costs you to make sure you got one of those guys is a 4th-round pick in next year's draft. This was not only the most insane Eagles draft I've seen, this is the most unpredictable and unbelievable first round that Howie Roseman has had.
You know what do you make of this? Oh, sorry, Gunnar, go ahead.
If I'm a defensive coordinator, instead of saying on 3, break, I'm saying, like, on your mark, get set, go. That's all I'm saying. Right. Every time I'm practicing with these guys, on your mark, get set, go.
I thought you were going to say Bulldogs on 3.
No. My goodness.
Yeah, this is
look at the haul they've had.
I mean,
wow.
You got to be ecstatic about that.
Hey, listen, man. This is the area that we're most concerned about. We knew that the exodus was going to happen. It had to happen on the defensive side of the ball. But the way that Howie structured the offense is in place. So the offense is going to do what it needed to do. To be able to get Jalen Carter, I couldn't imagine, that would happen, especially at 10. They got him at 9. To have Nolan Smith fall to you at 30,
crazy.
It's just insanity.
Yeah.
So now these are still young guys, young players that have to develop and have to learn how to play at the highest level, but they've played at the highest level collegiately.
Yeah.
Can they make the transition and be, I look for Jalen Carter to be more productive this year than Nolan Smith, because Nolan Smith is going to play in spot duty. You got to compete for playing time. You got Hassan Reddick is one starter. You got Josh Sweat the other. Entrenched at number 3 is Brandon Graham. You got Derek Barnett that's coming with an ACL. This wants to prove that he can still play. So, the way that they platoon guys in and out is going to be an opportunity for them to play. But these guys still have to learn how to play at the highest level. Very rare, very, very rare that you see defensive players come in and just get it right away.
Somebody just said in the chat, the Eagles' new mascot is a bulldog with wings.
A beagle.
A beagle, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's the thing is you got value and need. You got a defensive tackle, position of need. You got an edge, which was a position of need. But these weren't reaches. This wasn't just strictly taking – guys that you needed. You also got
value,
quality players and value.
I mean, the value itself is insane. And I am looking forward to hearing what Howie Roseman has to say, what Nick Sirianni has to say later, or even Sean Desai, or Jeffrey Lurie even later.
Have we heard from Sean Desai?
No, we haven't.
And you won't for a while. Yeah.
No, he hadn't even had a press conference.
No, isn't that strange?
No, usually coordinators don't speak yet. No.
When they get tired, though?
Yeah.
Well, either way, this is insane. What you have just put on this defense is absolutely
we've had a
bonkers.
night. We've had a night, boys. I mean, we have had a night.
We've asked all these questions about can they do this, can they do that. For me, the biggest question right now is not at the first round, as far as the Eagles are concerned, is concluded. Can Desai and his revamped coaching staff coach these guys up?
Yeah.
That's the big
It's
question.
the great
to me.
unknown.
That is the great unknown right now.
You lost your linebackers coach, your secondary
Yep.
coach, and your defensive coordinator. As much as people, I get it, the frustration with Gannon, but it's a
Can
lot
you
of new
coach these
parts.
guys
It's
up?
a lot of new parts.
Well, and the other thing too is you've got a whole new while the defense theoretically is going to look the same, the terminology, the wording, the responsibilities, and some circumstances are going to be different. So there's going to be a learning curve for a lot of these players, and especially these 2 draft picks tonight in the first round. You're coming from the collegiate game to the pro game.
Yeah,
and you're getting a whole new verbiage. Just like Jordan Davis and I'm sure Nakobe Dean probably struggled with it a little bit last year. A whole new verbiage. I mean, it's like Chinese when you're trying to learn a new defense, and the coaches are talking to you, and the defenses are being called, and you're like, what the hell is that?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got that, and you've got a different, a similar but different philosophy. I can't imagine that Sean Desai is going to be as passive, as Jonathan Gannon, because even Vic Fangio ain't that passive.
Right.
Right. So there's going to be some changes. How quickly the players can pick up on it, how quickly the players can get to a point where they, believe in the coaching staff and the new DC the way that they did, after spending a year or 2 years with Jonathan Gannon. There's a whole lot that goes on here, man. Mm-hmm. So, while the talent helps, there's some underlying stuff that has to transpire during OTAs and in the training camp and right into the regular season for those young guys that are going to be playing in the preseason. There's a lot going on.
There's definitely some growing pains, and there's going to be a learning curve. There's no question about that. Yeah, I mean you're suddenly going to be counting on a good amount of younger players on that side of the ball, especially with guys who are going to have impact. I mean,
Kansas City did it last year.
Yeah, they did.
Absolutely,
they did. And what the difference was? They had a phenomenal quarterback, which the Eagles have. They have a very smart offensive system, which the Eagles have as well. So I think early set, that's where you see it, right? Early in the season, if you could get that thing rolling by mid-season, and then you pick up steam going to the playoffs.
Well, but what the problem is? The problem for me is normally, the way that they practice in the summertime, the first 4 or 5 weeks, it's like preseason form.
That's true.
You're just fortunate enough to get through there at 500 or better, so you're not having to dig yourself out of the hole.
Yeah.
But there's certainly plenty enough time, throughout that 5-game window, depending on who they're playing and what the competition level is like, to be able to make that ascend and make that climb so that when they get to the meat of their schedule and when they get into playoff football, November and December, they're hitting their stride.
Yeah, no question. So we're just awaiting the final pick here of the first round with Kansas City Chiefs. But again, just in recapping here, the Eagles end up at number 9. They take Jalen Carter. At number 31, they take Nolan Smith. Both Georgia players. Carter is a defensive tackle. Nolan Smith is a linebacker edge from both from Georgia. Both played on the national championship teams to go with their teammates from the last couple of years in Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis from last year. So the Eagles have certainly dipped into the wild. I remember years we were screaming, like, what are they taking guys from the Pac-12? Why are they taking Washington guys? Well, there hasn't been a lot of that lately. There's been a lot of Alabama, a lot of Georgia, a lot of guys who played in big college games where the moment may not be too big for them in the NFL because they played in national championships and conference championships and whatnot. So